Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 15th March. The news items that we have picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 14. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, Parrikar takes oath in Goa as Supreme Court declines Congress plea. So we had discussed yesterday about Congress urgent petition being accepted by the Supreme Court on Goa governor using her discretionary power arbitrarily to invite BJP to form the government. So in Goa, recently assembly elections were held. There are 40 seats in Goa Legislative Assembly. To form the government, you need majority. Means 20 plus. At least 21 seats are required. So here, 17 seats were won by Congress and 13 seats by BJP. So single largest party was Congress, but still it did not have the majority. So discretion lies with the Goa governor. So here, BJP could garner support from smaller parties, and it has asserted that it can form the government, and Goa governor has invited and will sworn in Manohar Parrikar as Goa Chief Minister. So he is presently the Defence Minister. So he'll resign from that post and will become the Chief Minister of Goa, and he can remain a minister without being a member of the legislative body for 6 months. That is constitutionally provided for. For every minister, means ministers are the executives. To be part of the executive in a parliamentary form, you have to be part of the legislature too. Means you have to be part of this 40-member legislative assembly too. All ministers, including the chief minister. If you are not, you are allowed to stay so for 6 months. Within 6 months, you become a member of the legislative assembly of the state. So this will be possible if, say, for example, a member resigns and that post is vacant and by-elections are held. So for one of vacant posts also by-elections are held as such. So in that by-election, if the seat is won, then he can retain the post of chief minister. So that is how it is done. So now here again, if there is a legislative council, then it is still simpler, because legislative council is not there in all states. Bicameralism means parliament having 2 houses. We have bicameralism at the center. Means upper house, Rajya Sabha is also there. But amongst the 29 states in India, only 7 states have upper house. So these 7 states are Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka, Maharashtra, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh. And the 7th one is Jammu and Kashmir. But Jammu and Kashmir has the upper house under its own constitution. So Jammu and Kashmir, you should know, is the only state which has its own state constitution. Right? So these are the upper houses which are there. So if you are having an upper house in the state, Goa does not have an upper house. So you have to be member of legislative assembly only. But if there is a legislative council too, then the minister has to be a member of either legislative assembly or legislative council. And in legislative council, getting membership is easier because there you have indirect elections. In by-elections also, people will elect. In indirect elections, actually the house itself elects. So that is there. So we'll have to see how here also developments would take place. Now here in this present case, Supreme Court has refused to agree to Congress request that swearing in has to be stayed. So if swearing in will not be stayed, Manohar Parrikar will be sworn in as the Goa Chief Minister by the governor here, Mridula Sinha, and Supreme Court will be hearing the matter. So we'll see if what the Supreme Court statements on that are too. In the meantime, even the Finance Minister, Mr. Arun Jaitley, has justified the steps taken as saying that these steps have been taken earlier too by Congress as well. So he has given examples that in 2005 in Jharkhand, in the 81-seat Legislative Assembly, BJP 130, still the Congress in power at the center, it called Jharkhand Mukti Morcha leader Shibu Soren to form the government, who had support of only 17 of his own MLAs, and others were garnered support with and government formed. So this is an example. In 2002, they say in Jammu and Kashmir too, National Conference had 28 MLAs. But then here also governor and the Congress combinations formed the government. Means, and out of 28 National Conference who did not form the government, but Congress and PDP combined 15 plus 21 from the government. So there are examples too. So that's what he says. Even he quotes former President K.R. Narayan, what statement he had given in 1998, that when no party or no pre-election alliance of parties has a clear majority, then it is the discretion of the authority here, the president in this case, or at the state level, it is the governors, that those who can prove their majority, they have to prove it with a floor test. So here also Supreme Court in this matter also has said that the floor test has to be conducted. That order has been given. So that is there. Then if floor test it is proved that they have the majority, they can form the government. Then the next news item is on computing ability, rural India is lost in the woods. So this is NSSO, National Sample Survey Office. Survey has been conducted on ability to use computers. So there's a huge rural-urban divide. In rural population, it is only 8.8% which can use computers, and in urban areas it is 30.2% on an average. So this computing ability is ability to use a laptop, a desktop, a smartphone, a tablet, any one such device. And also it says that if smartphones are excluded, then the computing ability in rural areas falls much low. The state with the highest computing ability in rural areas is Kerala, and with the lowest is Chhattisgarh. In urban areas too, it is Kerala second highest, highest is Delhi. So that is what it speaks of. Then another aspect on which data has been put forth is that in tribal population, computing ability is the lowest. So this has also come forth. And another aspect is use of clean cooking. So in use of clean cooking also, rural population is at much lower percentage. Only 14.9% have access to clean cooking. Here clean cooking means cooking using not burning wood as such or some such thing, but by using kerosene, electricity or gas. So either of these is clean cooking. So clean cooking is very low in rural population, whereas in urban population it is 76.4%. So that has come forth in this survey. You can see it has been provided state-wise. The next news item is no Aadhaar, no scholarship. So we have been seeing, as we by the days are passing, is seeing that Aadhaar is being made mandatory for many schemes, many social sector schemes as such, and this is another scheme. And these are scholarship schemes under Ministry of Science and Technology. Earlier we have seen scholarship schemes under Ministry of HRD, Human Resource Development. So these schemes, new schemes also have been made requirement that Aadhaar would be mandatory. No Aadhaar, you would not be provided the scholarship as such. And if they are residing in a place where there is no Aadhaar authentication center, then the government has to ensure that it is made available. So Aadhaar enrollment center should be there in their block taluka. So this facility will also have to be set up by the government, means the Ministry of Science will have the Science and Technology will have the responsibility. So these scholarship schemes of Ministry of Science and Technology are Disha program and Inspire. So these are two prominent schemes. Under Inspire, there are various other provisions like Inspire Award, Inspire Scholarship, Internship, Fellowship, Faculty, and so on. Inspire is the acronym which stands for Innovation in Science Pursuit for Inspired Research. So this and Disha scheme. So Disha scheme is actually for women researchers who have given up on their profession because of social obligations, and now they want to come back. So for them, this Disha scheme has been initiated. And Inspire actually is from school level till researchers. So all are facilitated through various schemes under Inspire. So that is there. It's called three-pronged Inspire scheme. We'll see that in detail too. And here it is given that under Inspire, like examples given, that a student as such can be given a research career, get to pursue research career, he is given a scholarship. So scholarship is provided for person who wants to become a scientist. So Inspire research career can be taken up. For children at school level, here they are awarded cash prizes for developing science models. So this is there done every year. Then third one is for research contract. So as a fellowship, you are given as a internship as such, you are given 5-year research contract too. So this is also part of it. So all these provisions are there under the Inspire scheme. So at school level, at career level, and even as internship after you have chosen your career and going in that field. So this is there. Then regarding Aadhaar being mandatory, it is said that Supreme Court's Constitution bench had actually said that use of Aadhaar can be voluntary, not mandatory. So that was its judgment. And also Aadhaar scheme has been allowed to be made mandatory for some cases by Supreme Court. So this is with respect to public distribution system, PDS, and also for distributing LPG cylinders. This has been allowed, that subsidies can be given through Aadhaar. So that is there. And also Supreme Court is presently hearing the case on Aadhaar invasion of citizens' right to privacy. So the case is still with the Supreme Court, but then still strengthening has taken place because Aadhaar Act has been passed. So there is a legislation which is provisioning this aspect that Aadhaar should be made mandatory. So we'll have to see if Supreme Court has any differing viewpoints. Only thing Supreme Court wants to uphold is that nobody should be denied subsidies and provisions of these schemes just because they don't have Aadhaar. So only if Aadhaar is not there, if government is facilitating, as in this case also we saw, facilitating that Aadhaar enabling takes place and then scholarship is provided, means no denial is there, then there will be no problem as such. And then other schemes also where government has brought in Aadhaar, which we have been seeing as we have been discussing news items daily. So Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, here Aadhaar has been made mandatory. Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, Bhopal gas leak victims compensation payment, midday meal schemes, all Aadhaar has been made compulsory in these last few days and months. So this is there. This is about Disha program which we discussed, those who have break in their careers and want to come back. And innovation, inspire, innovation in science pursuit for inspired research. This is also there. One aspect of inspire is that there is no competitive exam held. So that is not there. Existing educational structure is used for identification of talent and providing scholarships and fellowships as such. And this about Ujjwala Yojana where Aadhaar has been made mandatory. This is for providing LPG connections to women of belonging to BPL, below poverty line households. So this is LPG. Then the next news item is Lok Sabha clears amended enemy property bill. We have discussed about this quite often now. If you want to hear about it in detail, we have discussed it in very much detail. The ordinances also which have come up and the amendment which has recently, amendment to the bill which has recently been passed. Everything has been discussed on 17th Feb news. So you can go through that also. So I'll not discuss it again here. So this enemy property bill of 2016 was to be passed by Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha both. So this amendment bill has been passed by Lok Sabha, went to Rajya Sabha, which amended it and passed it. So it went back to Lok Sabha. So because after amendments, it has to be passed by Lok Sabha as well. So now Lok Sabha has passed with the amendments, and that is why this bill has been approved. So under this now enemy property, just to understand what is enemy property, it means any property which belongs to the nationals of the country with which India is at war. So India was at war with two nations specifically, 1962 war with China, 65 war with Pakistan, and again in 71 with Pakistan. So all these properties which belong to any person from these countries, anybody, it's not just about terrorists or those involved in the war. All nationals of that country become enemy. So that is there. So any Pakistani national property which is there in India or Chinese national property in India, which was then attached and handed over to a custodian by the government, stays with them. So these amendments are there to ensure that even non-inheritance cannot take place, this transfer cannot take place. It stays with the government and stays so. Because now they are not enemies. Now those nationals, because we are no longer at war with any country as such. So still the property once attached stays with them. So that is why these amendments have been passed, and even the ordinances, 5 ordinances have been passed to keep the provisions of this amendment alive. Now amendment bill has also been passed by the government. So there is no need for ordinance anymore. So there are many cases also going on this matter, and the bill now, this amendment bill also does not allow the court's jurisdiction in these matters. Right? Then the next news item is EU religious signs ban sparks outrage. So this is about the recent judgment by the European Court of Justice of EU. This ruling is that employers can ban employees from wearing visible religious signs, provided that it is equally applied to all. So if there is provision already in place and it's part of the company laws equally applied, it can be done. So there were actually 2 cases before European Court of Justice regarding headscarves being used by female employees, one in this Belgian firm and another one in this French firm. So in Belgian firm, this in 2006, she had to leave. She was dismissed from work because she said that she intends to wear this headscarf. So headscarf is covering the head only, not the face. But then the company had these rulings that such religious symbols cannot be displayed as such. So that was there. And then the French firm, this lady was dismissed for wearing a headscarf because a client had complaints that why is she wearing a headscarf. So the French firm dismissed. So European Court of Justice actually upheld Belgian firm's dismissal but not the French firm, because here the company law had provided that nobody can wear any religious symbols, and French firm had arbitrarily, just based on the request of this client, removed the employee. So that is there. So with this ruling now, no religious symbol can be allowed to be worn. Equally being applied means all Sikh turbans, Christian crucifixes, Jewish kippas, Muslim headscarves cannot be allowed. So that would be equally applicable, means then it would be upheld. So this is the ruling presently. So if rule is applied consistently and in a systematic manner, it does not constitute direct discrimination based on religion or belief. So that is there. And regarding EU institutions, European Court of Justice is a judicial part. European Council comprises of all EU members' representatives, that is for guidance as such, and the decision-making bodies are these three: European Commission, Council of EU, and European Parliament. Commission is like the executive, Council of EU and European Parliament both function like the legislative bodies. They together make the decisions for EU. And then there are other bodies also, European Court of Auditors and European Economic and Social Committee, Committee on Regions as such are also there. So this is detailed out. You can go through this also, the functions of each of these bodies: European Parliament, Council, and the Commission. Then the next news item is UK Parliament clears way for Brexit talks. So now in Britain, the Parliament has passed the Brexit bill, which was a short bill introduced by the government, Theresa May government in Britain. So this bill had been passed by Lok Sabha, passed by lower house, means here it is the House of Commons, sent to the upper house. In the upper house, amendments were proposed. So that is why bill came back to the lower house. Now lower house has passed it again without the amendments, but now upper house is not going to change it. The House of Lords has not decided to pick any amendments. So bill stands passed. So Brexit bill has been passed, means the Brexit as such would be initiated, because you should remember it was the Supreme Court of Britain here who had intervened, and the judiciary said that first the Parliament should approve Brexit and then only Brexit initiation can take place. That is triggering of Article 50 of Lisbon Treaty, which we have discussed quite often now. So that would take place now as per the timeline which Prime Minister Theresa May has decided. Also, it is 60th anniversary of the Rome Treaties, the founding treaties of the European project. So European project also, we'll see about this Rome Treaties also. Another two aspects which are highlighted, which we just discussed yesterday, regarding the Scotland demanding a second referendum. Your Scottish minister demanding a second referendum because they want to stay in EU and Britain wants to exit. And then there is another complicated matter which is there before Britain, is regarding Northern Ireland also asking for a vote on unifying Northern Ireland with Republic of Ireland. We have seen this yesterday only. We discussed with map of Great Britain that Northern Ireland stays with UK. So Northern Ireland wants to integrate with the Ireland, the country as such now. So this is also there, one aspect. This is regarding EU, the timeline. So in 1945, the World War II ended. In 1951, there was European Coal and Steel Community formed. In 1957, this Treaty of Rome, the Rome Treaties, which we are talking of in 2017, now it would be 60 years. So here, Treaty of Rome established European Economic Community. So a single market was proposed. Then in 1992 came the Maastricht Treaty. So this was when the European Union was formally established, and then they wanted not just a single market but a single currency for them too, and that was Euro, which was introduced in 2002. So this was the Euro currency. The latest country joining was in 2013, Croatia became EU member. So the EU has 28 members now. Then this is regarding the Lisbon Treaty. When we talk of Article 50, it's Article 50 of Lisbon Treaty. So this was a treaty signed in 2007, came into effect in 2009. So here it is providing for greater powers to European Union actually. So the primacy of European Union more than the national laws. So more integration was proposed here, and now it has been put into effect. This is about EU. So countries where Euro has been accepted, countries which have been which have pegged their currency to Euro, and floating currency. Floating currency means here these countries have their own floating currency. They are not pegged to Euro. So Britain has its own British pound, pound sterling. So this is regarding that. Then the next news item is Marx's hometown to accept China's gift statue. So this is regarding Karl Marx, the founder of communism. So it will be his bicentennial, means 200 years, 200th birth anniversary as such. So this will be celebrated in Germany. He was from Germany. His hometown is Trier in Germany. So here celebrations would take place, and as you know, the founder of communism and the most prominent communist country, the country which was inspired by Karl Marx's work, was China. So China has offered to present the city Trier with a 20-foot tall bronze statue of Karl Marx. So this has presently been accepted. So the council here in Trier accepted this gift as such, but then how tall it would be and where would it be placed in the city has not yet been decided. So this is the present news. About Karl Marx, he was known for the Communist Manifesto, which he wrote along with his fellow Friedrich Engels, who was also from Germany. So that is here you can see, was born in 1818. So he was born in Germany, but he later lived in Berlin, London, and Paris. So that's how his status was. His viewpoints were spread throughout the Eastern Europe during Cold War era. It was communism wave which spread through this region, Eastern Europe. Even Germany, you should know, was divided into two parts, West and East Germany. So where the communist part was the eastern side, and this Trier is actually in the western part of Germany. That is why there's a little controversy regarding him as well. So the city is still Trier city, which is in banks of Moselle River, is still not very clear about this Karl Marx statue being placed here at the center here. So we'll see. This you can see the details of Karl Marx mentioned here. So his 1848 he brought out this pamphlet, Communist Manifesto. So what this spoke of was that communism would come forth, means that there is a class struggle inevitable, means it will take place, class struggle, because capitalism is control of production and means of production by the capitalists. So this capitalists, the ruling class as he called them, bourgeois was the term which he used. They control the means of production, and working class are the proletariat. So they are the workers who work for wages, laborers. So there is a conflict inevitable between the two. This is called class struggle. The two classes, ruling class and working class, bourgeois and proletariat. So this is there in capitalism. So this, after this class struggle, actually there should be a revolution which should come forth from the working class, and after this armed revolution, the capitalism would end and communism would come in its place. It has to be installed, and once communism comes in, then there will be equality for all, and there will be no class distinction, and everybody would be benefited. So that's what the communist idea was all about. So of course this initiation took place. Today there is no ideal example of communism as Karl Marx had envisaged, but those communist ideas, and to some extent the ideas of socialism, that the downtrodden also have to be taken care of, is there. But communism per se does not hold presently in today's world in any country, not even China. Then his famous work is Das Kapital. So this is in 3 volumes. It's an economic critique about the cultural, political conditions of the society and about the notions of human nature as well, which are determined by economic foundations. So this about talking about the economic aspect and endorsing communism was what he went ahead with. So this is there. He predicted that like previous socio-economic systems, capitalism produced internal tensions, which would lead to its self-destruction and replacement by a new system, socialism. So this is what he said, that it will result in self-destruction because capitalism creates such a huge rift, divide between the haves and the have-nots, that eventually there will be a conflict and the system would collapse. Capitalism would be destroyed because of its own fault, and socialism would come forth. So that is there. The difference between communism and socialism, you should understand. Communism is extreme. The control of all the means of production in the hands of the government and everybody equally provided for. That is communism. Capitalism means market force. Those who have the money can buy. And in communism, no market force prevails. Means government will make provision for everyone. Everybody has to contribute and everyone will be provided for as such. So all your basic requirements would be taken care of. That is ensured in communism. So that is there. Socialism means with capitalism, socialism can also prevail, means at least the downtrodden should be taken care of. So that is looking at it from the other way around. Not bringing the haves down, but at least breaking the have-nots up. So that is where it concentrates on, socialism. Then the next news item, this is regarding the Communist Manifesto. So this was a manuscript which was commissioned by Communist League. So Communist League was this organization established here, and in Paris it was headquartered here, and the German communists here, Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, they had authored this Communist Manifesto. So it was published in 1848. And you can see what it spoke of, the theory underlying the movement communism. So that's what we discussed just, that communism is inevitable, capitalism is inherently unstable. However, revolution will be required for this to occur. That's so revolution, armed revolution was called for. The next news item is food and fuel prices spur acceleration in inflation. So inflation has accelerated, increased both retail and wholesale price inflation, means WPI and CPI. So wholesale price index and consumer price index, both data have come forth, and inflation measured under both have increased. And it is said this is due to food and fuel prices. So food and fuel spur inflation, which is called headline inflation. So these are volatile. Food prices keep on fluctuating, even fuel prices, oil prices keep on fluctuating. So inflation because of this also keeps on fluctuating. That is called headline inflation. Core inflation is a term which is there excluding food and fuel price as such. So that is there. So presently RBI also, we have seen that they had changed their monetary policy stance to neutral. So means we would see, because during the time of demonetization it was seen that the inflation was going down. So now it has been seen that since the demonetization effect has worn off, inflation is again gathering up. So as RBI had also expected, so that is why it has stayed neutral, means if inflation goes up, we'll change our monetary policy, our repo rate as such, according to the inflation conditions. So we are neutral, we are not having inclination towards a particular trend that will increase or decrease repo rate. So that's what neutral stance is also justified, because earlier inflation was going down, now it is going up. So RBI will also take its stand accordingly. So that is there. And you can see this retail inflation is measured through CPI. So CPI data was provided by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, and WPI, wholesale price inflation data, is provided by Ministry of Commerce and Industry. So both have increased for the month of February. Then the next news item is MeitY upsets Apple cart, says tax swaps not feasible. So this is regarding Apple, the company which manufactures iPhone. It wants to establish itself in India, and it is asking for concessions from the government, tax concessions from the government. So what it has proposed is that the basic custom duty and countervailing duty which is imposed on commodities, that should not be imposed on the chargers, batteries and headphones manufactured for Apple phones. So the exemption was demanded. So custom duty means whenever imports take place, then custom duty is imposed. Countervailing duty is a duty which is imposed as such on these imported items only when it is felt that these imports are given concession subsidies in their own country, or if this that one case, or if these imports when they come into India, then they would affect the domestic manufacturers. So if the country wants to, it can impose this duty, countervailing duty in addition. So these countervailing duties are also imposed by the government on imports. So here what India has done is that there is exemption provided from basic custom duty and countervailing duties for mobile handsets which are imported, but not on chargers, batteries and headphones. And what Apple wants is that their chargers, batteries and headphones should also be exempted from these duties, because they will not be manufactured. The idea is that they should be manufactured in India. So there's no question of custom duty or countervailing duty there. But then Apple says that we will not be manufacturing them in India. So that is why we want exemption. Then the government has said that actually this is phased manufacturing program which government has initiated. So phased manufacturing program means encouraging that okay, mobile handsets are important, but at least chargers, batteries, headphones be manufactured in India. So at least in phases manufacturing taking place in India. So Apple justifies that we are going to enter into Indian market in phases. So gradually we'll start manufacturing in India as well. So they want to come into the market, but gradually, and in the meantime, they are demanding these exemptions from taxes, custom duty and countervailing duty for their chargers, batteries, headphones, but Ministry of Electronics and IT, Information Technology, that is MeitY, has said that no, this cannot be provided, this is not feasible. So that is the present status now. So you can see countervailing duty of 12.5% is imposed on headphones, chargers and batteries under this phase manufacturing program. So that is the exemption which they are demanding. So you can see this is GATT allowed, means it is allowed under WTO, World Trade Organization, General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. So countervailing duty can be used to offset public subsidies for the manufacture, production or export of any merchandise. So it has to be, it requires that it is proved that there is a subsidy which exists, which is provided to this imported commodity, or to prove that the subsidized import causes or threatens to cause injury to domestic industry. So if this is proved, government can have this countervailing duty imposed, which is WTO compliant. Then the next news item is BRICS to discuss steps to boost investment. So BRICS comprising of Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. So BRICS summit we had discussed recently in October 2016. It took place in Goa. Now the next big summit would be held in China. So the chairmanship goes to China. So now China is emphasizing on BRICS also agreeing to investment facilitation. Means investment facilitation here means that investments from foreign countries would be facilitated. So here basically what is pushed for is this investor state dispute settlement mechanism, which is part of EU-Canada bilateral trade agreement also, plus also Canada wants India to have this in its agreement, trade agreement which has been negotiated. Even EU wants this, and even the countries, Western countries, want investor state dispute settlement mechanism, part of a global investment pact which should be finalized at WTO level. Means all countries should agree to this, and India is strongly opposing this investor state dispute settlement mechanism. We have discussed this quite often. If you don't remember, then again I'm telling you, model BIT has been formalized, bilateral investment treaty. We are renegotiating bilateral investment treaty with various countries. So this investor state dispute settlement mechanism should not be there with any country is what India wants. Because what this seeks for is that if there is any dispute, means a foreign investor comes in, state here means government. So if any dispute comes in between government and the investor, foreign investor, then this settlement can take place at an arbitration outside the country. Foreign arbitration, international arbitration should be allowed. So that is what this mechanism provides for. What India wants is that first the local laws under the local adjudication, means in the courts of law and regulatory bodies, first adjudication should take place. After all these options have been exhausted, then you go ahead with this international arbitration. So that is what India wants. Of course, it will be tiring process. Foreigners don't want to go through this. So that is why these foreign countries, Western powers are emphasizing on this. And now China is also supporting this and endorsing this. And it wants BRICS to provide for this. This is what is investment facilitation. Basically, the gist, what they actually want. And another thing which has been pushed for is e-commerce. Again, for e-commerce also, we saw that G20 countries were pushing for it, that e-commerce pact should also be provided for. So India at that time also has said that developing countries have not brought in e-commerce to the extent as developed countries have provided for. So they say that it would provide smaller firms also to indulge in e-commerce and take benefit of it. But of course, the market would be dominated by the larger players, which are majorly from Western countries. Even China, for that matter, is endorsing e-commerce. Alibaba is also an e-commerce firm from China. So they also have dominant players, and China is with the Western powers now in these matters. So now looking at BRICS also, the association of 5 nations, actually South Africa was a later entrant. It joined in 2010. This term comes from BRIC, which was given in the Goldman Sachs report. So this is the origin of it. It was Jim O'Neill, the chairman of Goldman Sachs Asset Management Company. He coined this acronym BRIC, referring to these 4 nations. This concept came in 2001. The acronym came where it is said that these nations have a huge chunk of the world's population. Almost half of world population is in these countries, plus they also represent a major chunk of world's economic activity. So 22% of gross world product is in these countries. So that is there. Later South Africa has also been added, so it became BRICS. So this is the BRICS grouping. There have been 8 summits so far. The 8th one in 2016 in Goa, presently in October, and the 9th one will be held in China, in Xiamen in September 2017. So that is there. Plus, all 5 BRICS members are also members of G20 grouping. That is also there. And since 2009, they have been meeting annually for annual summits. So these are the summits held so far too. First one was in Russia, and then you can see each one has one summit held. Russia, then India, now again China. Then the 2006 BRICS summit, as we spoke of, in Goa. The next news item is a glow-in-the-dark frog found in Argentina. So this is polka dot tree frog, which exhibits fluorescence. So this is the first frog as such which exhibits fluorescence, found in Argentina in South America. So this South American frog, what is fluorescence basically is that short wavelengths are absorbed of light, and then re-emission of these light take place as longer wavelengths. So that results in this fluorescence effect. This is generally seen in ocean creatures, and even in terrestrial animals this has been seen only in parrots and some scorpions. So this is the first time that an amphibian has displayed fluorescence. So this is the fluorescent frog here in Argentina, polka dot tree frog. The next news item is UK cruise ship damages Indonesian coral reefs. So this was a cruise ship owned by Britain which smashed into the coral reefs. About coral reefs we have already discussed in detail a few days ago, to be precise on 11th of March news. So you can go through the entire details because coral reefs are very important for UPSC perspective. Environment, biodiversity is anyway important. So these were Indonesian coral reefs which were affected. This is in Raja Ampat in eastern Indonesia, where these are important tourist sites, and these were also just cruise ship, means tourists were being carried here, and the coral reef was damaged. Around 13,500 square meter of coral reef was damaged, and the cost of this is estimated to be around $16.2 million. So that is there. The next news item is Boaty MacBoat face goes from joke to polar explorer. So this Boaty MacBoat face was a joke which had been going around, and now this is a name of a high-tech remote operated yellow submarine which has been sent on a mission through the deep currents. Means in Antarctica it will go through the Southern Ocean, and it will navigate the underwater waterfalls, rapids for over 2 months and collect data. So they will, this submarine, it's a submarine which is underwater, but it will come up to and then through the radio signals transmit this information as such to the scientists. So it will help scientists understand how global warming is affecting oceans. So that is the mission undertaken here. This is Boaty MacBoat face. And the last news item is trachoma eliminated in India, says AIIMS doctors. So this is an eye infection which was very common in India, and it led to blindness also in many cases. So now it is claimed that it has been eliminated from the country. So this is a bacterial agent, Chlamydia trachomatis. So this causes trachoma, and it usually spreads through because of poor hygiene. So in crowded places, lack of water, and various environmental factors like humid conditions results in spread of this bacteria, and trachoma spreads. So even here means unhygienic conditions are the major cause. So improper disposal of garbage is also another example, another cause as such. So presently what had been done is a 3-year survey was held nationally under the Union Health Ministry in collaboration with AIIMS, and here the results have come forth that there are no more trachoma cases. So this has come forth. So the high risk states here were these. You can see Punjab, Haryana, UP, Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Nicobar group of islands. So here it was seen that many children were suffering. So if the last survey which was held in 1950s, it was seen 50 to 80% children had this trachoma prevalent in the northwestern India. Then the last survey actually was in 1971, 74, 86, 89. So these last 2 surveys also saw that there was prevalence here of trachoma, but now in this present 3-year survey it has been seen that it has come down drastically, though it was seen that 50% of tribals in Nicobar Islands were on high risk of contracting the disease, but AIIMS doctor has now claimed that India is trachoma free. So this is trachoma as such. So these are the news items. Thank you.